In episode 4, the group arrives at Diesel City, but getting these weapons is not going to be easy. Unlike most places, Diesel City has a no tolerance policy for violence. And they've gone so far as to have snipers armed and ready to take out anybody who breaks the cardinal rule. Obviously, if they have a no tolerance policy for violence, they also have it for stealing. And that's what Krista and her group are planning on doing. They're not going to buy these weapons, they're going to steal them. The way that Diesel City works is you basically sell your gasoline and get an in-house currency. And in the marketplace, there's a ton of weapons, but Krista, she's after the big weapons. And those weapons are deep in the Emperor's inner sanctum. The Emperor is basically the mayor of Diesel City. And the kind of weapons that Krista is after are complete game changers. Now, here's the tricky part, getting into the vault. The way you get into the vault is by going up to an office all the way in the rafters and clicking a button. But after doing that, you're going to need somebody to actually go into the vault. And the only people that are going to be able to get close to it are the representatives from other cities. They're kind of the bigwigs. So Chris's plan is to be the one to hit the button that opens up the vault. But that's going to leave John and Quiet to try to blend in with the other representatives, bide their time, find their way to the vault, and just wait for the door to open. And when it does, they go in and they're going to steal the weapons. Mayhem, meanwhile, she's going to wait on the outside just in case things go south and they need a getaway driver. John and Quiet, though, are not going to be able to go in as quote-unquote representatives dressed the way they are. They have to change into some outfits, and when Quiet comes out of the car, all changed in a sexy pantsuit, John is turned on. John, Quiet, and Krista then head into Diesel City. They're planning on breaking up and going their separate ways. But one of the issues that John and Quiet have is the fact that they don't have lanyards that distinguish them from others. You need a lanyard to get in with the bigwigs. As both John and Quiet survey the situation, trying to figure out how they're going to get a lanyard without causing a scene and causing violence, that's when Mayhem walks up and hands them 2 lanyards. She's already come up clutch in this mission. She poached them, and while it doesn't look exactly like Quiet and John, it's good enough to fool the guards and get them upstairs with the Emperor. For Quiet, she's a representative from Spokane, Washington, and she puts on the worst kind of accent in the world. Amazingly, though, it's fooling everybody, because apparently no one's ever met somebody from Spokane. It even fools the Emperor. I mean, shortly after Quiet and John get up and everybody's kind of just drinking and mingling, the Emperor walks up to both of them, and when he hears Quiet's accent, he hates it, but he loves it at the same time. Quiet and John, though, have a slight issue. They haven't been able to blend in like they thought, and one of the reasons why is because the lanyards that Mayhem stole, apparently, unbeknownst to them, Kirkland, the place that John's repping, and Spokane haven't had diplomatic relationships in a while. In fact, they've been basically at war with each other. So the fact that these 2 reps from rival cities are mingling at this event is virtually unheard of, and it's got a lot of eyeballs on both Quiet and John. But John and Quiet just tell them, yeah, we figured we'd make good at such a great place like Diesel City where violence isn't tolerated. And that's something that the Emperor loves. He loves building a bridge. The Emperor seems to buy their story, though. He leaves them alone, and they continue to drink, just biding their time. Eventually, they do get a chance to look at some of these exotic weapons that Krista was talking about. There's a silent auction for all of them. There's something called ghost missiles. Then there's something called a boomerang blast. Apparently, it's a missile that comes back to you. As they're kind of making fun of that entire premise, somebody from the auction house walks up and starts pitching them on the boomerang blast. But then he turns their attention to the napalm cones. He tells them that these rockets dispense liquid napalm that will melt your skin in 7 seconds. And both Quiet and John are listening and nodding their heads, but then the auctioneer tells them that major cities like New San Francisco have been using it with great success. In fact, New San Francisco just recently used it on a bunch of outsiders, and that pisses John off. He thinks that this auctioneer is sick in the head for thinking that human life is just so cavalier. I mean, the way the guy is talking about it, it's as if these people are roaches. And it's Quiet who has to bring John back into reality and remind him, hey, we're not here to ruffle feathers. You got to calm down. But for John, it's personal because he knows what it was like to be on the outside. He knows that those people are just trying to survive. And then you've got this asshat who's basically just acting like they're cockroaches. John ain't for it. But he does end up getting himself together, keeping his emotions in check, and keeping the task at hand, getting into the vault. There's then an announcement from the Emperor telling everybody to wrap up the bids and they'll announce the winners after quote-unquote playtime. John and Quiet have no idea what quote-unquote playtime means, but they follow the group into another part of Diesel City, and they're greeted by a guy before they enter another room who asks them if they want to keep their pants on. And they say, yeah. But when they get in the room, they realize why that question was asked. It's a full-on sex orgy. And now John and Quiet need to figure out how they're going to maneuver this to get to the vault. Now, at this point, I have to mention that John, Quiet, Krista, Mayhem, they're not the only ones that we're familiar with that have made their way to Diesel City. So has Sweet Tooth and Stu. And they're at odds because they have a very fixed budget and they need to get weapons for the race, just like Krista and her group. But Sweet Tooth is unhinged. He wants to just waste a lot of their money, and not only that, he wants to kill. And meanwhile, you've got Stu trying to keep the budget under control while also keeping Sweet Tooth alive. It's pretty difficult. Sweet Tooth's appetite is very hungry for death. He just can't control himself. So he heads up to the catwalk and he finds a little action. That action being Krista. She had made her way up to the catwalk and she was taking out some snipers, and Sweet Tooth decided to help out. She's a little weirded out. She does thank him, but Sweet Tooth, he's just relieved that somebody knows who he is because Krista is well aware of the legend of Sweet Tooth. Sweet Tooth actually wants to team up with her because of this, but she doesn't want to. She just wants to get into that office, press the button, and open up the vault. While Sweet Tooth was trying to get a new partner, his old partner, Stu, was taken in by security, having no idea why he was taken in by security. But then you find out, because as John and Quiet were trying to work their way through this orgy, they were forced to get on top of one another. The Emperor kept staring them down, and they just had to make it seem like they were really, really into each other. But in this process, they ended up getting really, really into each other. I mean, the sexual tension all rushed back, and they remembered, oh yeah, no, we've had sex before, and I'm into it. But the big distraction came when the Emperor announced that he had his guards look for the crudest, sweatiest, most pathetic yet delicious outsider he could find, and that person is Stu. Stu is then wheeled out, and he's basically sacrificed to the group. And by sacrifice, I don't mean he's killed. No, like they just use him sexually. He's really, really into it. I mean, good for Stu. But this distraction does allow Quiet and John to get away and head to the vault. The problem is they're still really horned up. When they get near the vault, though, the vault isn't opened yet. It's supposed to be open at this point. And the reason why it's not open is because Sweet Tooth had followed Krista into the room where she has to press the button, and he was kind of annoying her. He clearly wanted to team up. But then they noticed that there's an electromagnetic pulse generator in the room, and they both want it because that's a game changer for the competition. Because neither of them want to give it up, they get into a fight. That delayed the process of opening up the vault for John and Quiet. In the middle of the fight, though, Krista is able to hit the button. It opens up the vault, and John and Quiet go in. And while they're supposed to grab weapons, they don't. What they end up doing is grabbing each other. They bang each other's brains out. While doing so, they end up starting a fire. You would think this would stop them. No, it doesn't stop them at all. They continue to bang each other's brains out. And they're instilled in the throes of passion so much, they don't even notice that Stu walks in and basically steals all the weapons that they were supposed to steal. The only weapon that the group gets away with is that EMP. And that's solely because Krista was saved by Mayhem, who didn't follow orders. She didn't stay by the cars. And once again, she bails the group out. The fire, though, that Quiet and John raged on so much that it caused alarms. Everybody in Diesel City had to get the hell out of there. John and Quiet were able to escape, but they did so scantily clad. Stu was also able to escape after gunning down the Emperor and all of the bigwigs. It was his first killing spree. He's really proud of himself. It's a pretty chaotic scene getting out of there, but Sweet Tooth, Stu, Quiet, Mayhem, John, Krista, they're all able to get out of there and make their way towards the tournament. That night, though, as Krista and her group make camp, Krista tells both John and Quiet that since they've started this journey, she's seen some pretty weird stuff, and what it's made her realize is the fact that they're going to need somebody to watch their back, and that's why she's also going to enter the tournament. Her plan is for Roadkill to take the lead. She sets up the EMP, hits the button, and boom, there's no competition. Seems like a pretty good plan, but Mayhem is also planning on still entering the tournament. And that tournament starts in 1 day.
Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry. It'll be up in a day or two.